All right, hey YouTube, this is Loves Beer 99. My real name is Steven. I'm going to show you a couple of updates on the CP 2000 since my last video. Today is going to be mostly focused around maintenance, and then in a day or so I'm actually going to run some brass through this, and I'm going to post a video on how I run the machine manually to give you some tips and tricks to make sure your brass is coming out consistent, and also how to, damage your brass less, and I'll get that to in a couple of seconds. So a couple of things. It's been a while since I made a video because, again, I don't do this for a living. I have no intention of growing my channel, no intention of being monetized. I don't care if you press a button or like something or bell this or respond or whatever. If I could help people learn how to use this machine better to process brass, great. Other than that, I have no interest in YouTube. So with that being said, I'm also going to be doing some camera work here, manual stuff, and that's mostly because I'm not good at this, and I don't really care to try to do any better. There you go. All right, Dillon CP 2000. There's a couple upgrades on this machine I want to show you, and then I want to show you something about cleaning it. So first things first, the last time I had this machine, I was using my Foster die as my sizing die. I wound up buying a Dillon carbide die. I figured thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds every week, the carbide die would last a little bit longer, and I checked with some people in the industry that are well known, somebody named Dick Whiting, for instance, and he was like, yeah, the carbide die is the way to go, and I've been having really great results with it. So the Foster die is now on the last stage where I'm using it just as a neck expansion die. I explained all that in the last video. The other two dies that you have to look at are this one and this one. Both of these dies were designed for automation tools. So if you have one of those automation machines that has everything running, these were designed to use with that. Very specific reason for it. When you're running this machine way too fast, like if you're trying to pull it way too fast, sometimes everything doesn't line up correctly, even with that little bar that goes through that hole that creates a shell plate, and sometimes the brass starts to shift a little bit or just vibrate, it kind of rotates like this until it settles in, and what you get is brass that looks like this, right? Or something looks like this that was chipped on the top. See it? Right there? Yeah, and the reason for that is because the pin on the decapper, if this is not lined up perfectly or if it's vibrating a little bit, the decapper pin will hit the lip and then just destroy your brass. I found that also happened once I fixed this position on some of the other positions, particularly on the one on the other side that has the swage foot counter on it, right? The swaging die. So what this die does, if you can kind of see here, is this little piece here lifts up, and what it does is it grabs the brass kind of like this at the top and centers it so that this way when the pin comes through the bottom, it pops the primer out very cleanly, very easily. And this thing is strong as hell. This thing is tool grade steel. I'll get back to that in a second. So this thing, even if you're moving a little bit fast, will help grab the brass and center it before the pin actually goes through. And this is FW Arms. Again, they make stuff mostly for the automation tools because things are moving fast. The one on the other side does the same exact thing. It centers it up before the foot comes through and presses down on the bottom of the web of the brass before the swager comes up so that you have even pressure on both sides so that you're not flexing the plate and stuff like that, all right? I'm not making anything out of this. They didn't give me anything for free. I'm not associated with them. They're just good products I like, so I wanted to tell you about them because even without automation, if you're trying to move this thing pretty fast, these things are greatly helpful. I was going really slow before. After I started running a lot of brass, I was damaging a lot of brass. So I had to slow down a lot. My goal is to get quality brass out, good product, not necessarily speed. Speed should come second. But with this, I'm able to move a lot faster and a lot smoother. Excuse me. So I like those. I like them. I like them a lot. They're not that expensive either. I called them up, great bunch of guys. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is just cleaning up this tool and the maintenance of it. I'm gonna have to do a close up here in a second. So I'm using. I was about to show you the tube. I'm using a mix of lanolin and 99% alcohol, and I'm using it at a 12% ratio, and it's working very, very well for me. I might try a 14 one day in the future. Or sorry, a 10, like something a little bit less. But right now the 12 is working really well, but it's sticky stuff and the residue gets all over everything. So if you can kind of see this tube, let me see if I can get it close here. You can kind of see all that nastiness in that tube. That's all on the inside, that's the lanolin. Now look at this down here at the bottom. I don't know if you can kind of see that foot right there and see all that stickiness and all that residue around there. And if you can kind of see in those little slots, there's just junk in there. And after several thousand rounds, that stuff has to come out. Otherwise, what's going to happen is it's going to fill up and the brass isn't going to seat properly in those little, what do you call it, the little seats, right? It's not going to seat right. And then that's also what helps get them crooked. So using a brush, using some one-shot cleaner. This is not brass lube. And using some other things like this tipped-in swab. I like this thing because it fits right in the die perfectly. So if I spray the hell out of this and I stick it up in the die, turn it, clean it out, get the die, I can get it really nice and clean. You'll notice here, this one's not that bad. The last one I did, though, you can kind of see like how dark and dirty that is. This is the one I just did, just so you don't think I'm switching stuff on you. It's still kind of dirty, and it still has some stuff all over it, just not as bad as this one. All right? But then I'll take that die, I'll kind of wipe it off, sometimes with a rag, and I'll do the same thing on the die for the trimmer. I'll clean all that out. I'm not going to do it right now in front of the camera, but I'll also take the stem out of this die and I'll clean the inside of it. I'll take the stem and clean the stem off. Just since I have it out here, right? So that's the ball expander. So, you know, that's got to be wiped down with a Q-tip or something. Get all that nastiness off of there. Any residue off of it. And then I'll do the inside of that die as well. Now, I haven't done as many cleanings on the FW dies just because the nature of them, the brass doesn't fit really right tight to the sides. Let me put this back in here. I have a little brush around here somewhere. Did I drop it? That little brush that one little brush I had another little brush around here. There it is. I stole my wife's Pandora brush. Yeah, you know what? Pandora my ass. This is a brass machine cleaning brush now. So you got to get all through here. Just clean the stuff off. I wind up getting a rag. I wind up spraying some one shot on it. And the other thing is you got to get this screwdriver here. And you got to lift that little piece. Let's see if I can get this in here now. I'll show you. So get in here. Get all that nastiness out of here too. Alright, then I'll finish cleaning that all out with the brass brush. And then, I don't know if you guys can see in there as well. I don't know what angle that's at, but... yeah, see, you can get all that nasty stuff off of that brush. Look at that. That's what was in those little slots. So, clean up the machine, work your way around it, clean your dies. You know, make sure you have some good maintenance on this thing, because that stickiness will start throwing your brass off. Because in those slots right there, you know, the lip of your brass right here fits in those slots. And if the slots are full of gunk, they'll sit in there crooked, or they'll sit in there basically not straight. Alright, so this is kind of like a live version of me doing an episode that I am going to now post. Oh yeah, you have to empty this thing too, right? A lot of this stuff. I hope that didn't just land in my beer. I get thousands and thousands and thousands of those things now. Alright, so clean out your brass, clean out your dies, wipe down your machine, keep it clean. And when you're not using it, put a cover over it. I found that what I'm using is honestly just an old bed sheet. Something that was, the corners were all stretched out on. They're not going to work anymore anyway. So I just throw this thing over the top. Cover the whole thing to make sure I'm not getting dust on it from everything else in my shop. Alright. So, oh yeah, somebody asked about this. So I'll see if I can show you guys this thing. So in the back here, there's this painting, because I like to keep my shop cultured with art. And that's something I did back in college, and if you notice, it was called Art on a Stick. Literally just art on a stick. Alright. Alright, I'll do the video in a day or so of me running the brass through the machine and show you how I operate it. And hopefully that'll help you guys operate your machines as well. Catch you later.